I'm very happy to introduce Edric as the next segment. Edric is the co-founder of PlasticEVO, and it's a company that offers an interactive platform for communities to recycle plastic materials. With a focus on sustainability, PlasticEVO transforms recycled plastic into 3D printable filaments, which can be used to create bespoke products and hands-on activities. He's passionate about closing the loop on plastic waste and actively engages in initiatives to promote innovative recycling methods. He's also a member of the NUS Zero Waste Task Force, leverages his expertise to drive impactful changes in Singapore's recycling landscape to foster a culture of sustainability. So can we give a round of applause to Edric?
All right, thank you so much. All right, so I'm Edric. I'm one of the co-founders of PlasticEVO. So yeah, basically it's a team of 3 of us, and we actually met in our polytechnic schools. And we saw a problem when we were doing our final project, and we actually had a lot of issues when it came to 3D printing prototyping, because whenever we failed the prototype, we would actually throw it into the bin, and we realized that incurred a lot of waste unnecessarily. We wanted to find a way to actually close the loop, or actually find a better way for us to recycle this plastic instead. So yeah, this is actually a picture of the blue bins. It's very common in all of the housing estates in Singapore. And the problem with this bin right here is that though it's actually meant to be a recycling bin for everyone in the estate, but actually people use it as a dumpster instead. So despite the high consumption of plastic materials in Singapore, we felt like the plastic materials were not being recycled appropriately. And we wanted to find a way to actually create an interactive platform to recycle these plastic materials instead. Yeah, so the 3 main issues are actually what I mentioned. There was also a lack of awareness and little motivation, because after speaking to members of the public in Singapore, we actually realized that people are not motivated to recycle because they felt as though that there was no reason to. There was no good reason to, because all their efforts would go to waste. So we wanted to come up with a way to upcycle plastic, educate the community and youth, as well as create an interactive way to recycle. Yep. So I'll skip our mission and vision because it's actually what I went through. So, all right. Okay, so the video cannot be played, but I'll just go through our 4-step process very quickly. So essentially what PlasticEVO does is that we actually collect different types of plastic materials. So the most common types of plastic materials we work with includes your HDPE2 as well as your PP5. So they are most commonly seen in your milk jugs or ice cream tubs and things like that. We are also starting to work with PET1 bottles as well as LDPE plastic as well. So we actually collect it and sort it according to their type, of course ensuring that they are not contaminated, and if they are, we clean it accordingly. We shred it into small pieces to actually expedite the extrusion, which is the melting process. And okay, sorry, so the slides are not done very well, but essentially this step is an extrusion process where it's essentially placing a plastic materials in an oven where it melts at high temperature, and it actually produces filament which we can use for 3D printing or 3D pens. Yep, so we actually have 3 pillars of who we work with. So firstly is the education. So we wanted to make it more of all-access workshops for people of all ages. We also work with corporates where we actually produce customized products using our 3D printer filament. And we also lease our equipment to actually help these companies close the plastic loop within the organization itself. And lastly, individuals, where we actually promote self-directed learning. How can we incorporate like learning into sustainability? Yeah. So for education, we have actually worked with a huge variety of schools. So we do not want to just teach people about sustainability. We want to go the extra mile. So what we actually do within our workshops is that we actually have other elements that we incorporate into our workshops. So for example, we worked with one of the primary schools in Singapore to actually upskill the students, where we teach them about basic computer-aided design. So there's 3D designing for what we will put into a 3D printer. So they actually created customized phone stands for the cleaners in their school, as well as broom racks that actually promote a cleaner environment in the school. So yeah, it's more about adding on to what an educational workshop will have if it's just about sustainability. So we work with people of all ages, ranging from preschool, so maybe 4 to 5 years old, all the way to the elderly, where we are actually upskilling them. Yeah, we also work with corporates. So the first one is our corporate gifting. So as mentioned before, we actually use 3D printing and capitalize on its customizability to actually create customized products. So it can have, it can be products that have their logos, or it can be something that actually incorporates the company's vision. So on the top left here, this is an example of us working together with Singapore Pools, which is a huge organization in Singapore. During the environmental week, they actually passed us their recycled plastic materials, and we created 120 plant pots for their staff. Yep, so we also have workshops as per normal, and also in-house recycling, where we lease them the equipment to do it themselves. So self-directed learning is, it's more about how we can actually engage the community to make it more engaging for people of all ages as well. Yep, so these are our key partnerships. So we have worked with Science Centre Singapore, which has access to most of the schools in Singapore. And we actually reached out to them, and we actually completed a collaboration recently, where we actually reached out to 40 schools and conducted complimentary workshops for them. And as a result, they are actually giving us their plastic materials, and we're actually entering the schools to help them recycle their plastic materials. So we actually collected up to 300 kilograms of plastic materials just within this 5-month period itself. We work with NUS. So as Rachel introduced me just now, I'm part of the task force member for NUS, which is responsible for making decisions or sustainable decisions within the school itself and beyond as well. For ELBA, we are actually working with them currently. We are collecting the plastic materials that are actually retrieved from the reverse vending machines across Singapore. And we are doing a pilot event where we are actually converting it into customized gifts for their staff. For NEA, we are actually, hopefully you guys will be here tomorrow, but it's more, I'll elaborate more on tomorrow's speech as well, based on what we did with NEA. Yep, so these are some of the projects that PlasticEVO has done. We have reached out to educational institutes, as mentioned. We are working with local sustainable brands where we are actually helping them supplement their sustainable direction. So just give an example here, Ralph Beauty. It's a local soap brand. So we are actually creating customized soap holders, for lack of a better way to say it, to actually supplement what they already have. And we are working with organizations, be it corporate and government, to close the plastic loop within themselves, basically. Yep, so this is our roadmap, just to share. Yeah, we are working towards moving towards ESG consultancy, because we are able to actually help these companies have a direct impact, like observe the direct transformation of the plastic materials that they actually collect. And we are also working with overseas, we also have overseas partnerships in Asia, where we were actually approached from the Sabah government to actually improve the ecotourism in Sabah itself. Yep. So yeah, so these are some of the metrics that we've worked with. Within this year itself, we reached out to almost 1,500, but although the figure is much more now. We have also recycled up to 300 kilograms of just HDPE2 and PP5 plastic materials, and yeah, which kind of translates to around 1,800 kilograms of CO2 emissions reduced. Yep. So I'll open the floor to any questions at all. Happy to answer anything. Yep.
Yeah, it's a very interesting initiative.
Yep.
But regarding to your last slide,
yep,
you show that throughout this year, you have recovered around close to 2 tons
yep,
of CO2
yes,
emissions.
yep.
But it happens that in Singapore, the per capita emission, everyone in Singapore emits around 14, 15
exactly
tons per year.
Yep.
So what we can do,
yeah, so
what,
yeah, exactly.
how we can enhance this kind of initiatives.
Yep. So yeah, so this is it's a common question we get. We understand that currently we are somewhat small, on a very small scale now. But what we plan to do is we actually hope to bring this equipment to organizations, to community centers itself, where they're able to do it themselves. And it will scale accordingly as we lease our equipment, or we actually sell them these equipments and equip them with the appropriate knowledge to recycle their own plastic materials. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Hi, thanks for doing what you're doing. Question on your process, right? So you have collection, so there's incineration essentially, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Are 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 there any
Sorry.
alternatives to
Yeah.
basically kind of manage the impact of incineration if the volume of plastics are going to be more and more and more? Because obviously that's the unfortunate kind of
Yeah.
I'd say consequence, right? So are you kind of exploring that, or is it something that it's going to be difficult to execute at this point, given the scale that you have at the moment?
Yeah, so it's more about the latter. Currently, at the scale that we have, it's more, it's difficult for us to achieve like huge impact per se. But I think what we are, what we are trying to do here is to just work up towards like equipping everyone with the ability to do so. Not everyone per se. I think one of the main issues that we have in Singapore is also space constraints. So such a process wouldn't be widely available or widely acceptable by most organizations. So I think the best way to do it is to actually target these communities itself and actually enrich them. So that's the direction that we're going towards, yeah.
Sorry, and it's okay for follow-up?
Sure.
So the other question I have is has there been any conversation, or is it something that crossed your mind to actually implement something like this into every HDB community? Because it's something that's kind of the portability of this
Yeah,
would
exactly.
actually work. But I'm interested to understand if that's something that you have in the pipeline, or
Definitely.
if you have, but that was not necessarily entertained. I'd like to understand also.
Yeah, so that is definitely a possibility that we'll work towards. Yeah, so I think one of the test beds that we are actually actively working towards is the overseas outreach that we have with Sabah. So Sabah is a relatively poor region of Malaysia. So we are trying to use this as a test bed to see if we can actually make this very intuitive for everyone to actually be able to adopt very easily. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yep. Sure.
In terms of 3D printing, is
Yes.
there anything that you cannot print?
Yeah, so for 3D printing, our constraints will be the size and the time. So I think these are constraints that we cannot really work, we cannot really overcome because it's an inherent problem of 3D printing. It's more about increasing our ability to keep out the demand there is. Yeah.
Anybody else wants to ask a question? No? Okay, I'll ask a question. I guess it depends on like the grade of plastic, right? But when you use the filaments for the 3D printing of the objects, how sturdy is it? Like how solid? And then have you I guess it depends on the grade of plastic, but how solid is it? Like how is it going to last basically?
Yep. So that's also a very common question that we receive. As for when you continuously melt plastic, the structural integrity wouldn't be there. So typically we do not use it for very intricate things that requires a lot of like stress, ability to withstand stress. So we don't actually take on projects if they do require such demands. It's more about like maybe the most common product that we produce would be like things like coasters or keychains, things that do not really have a lot of stress. Yeah.
So no manual power.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, if there's no other questions, thank you so much, Edric. Can we give a
Thank
round of
you.
applause?